Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit. No influencer status necessary. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and today in episode 109, I have seriously one of my favorite episodes to date with one of my favorite people on the internet. We are lucky enough to get a behind the scenes look at what it has looked like for this guest to host a six-figure live and paid virtual event. So we'll talk about things like a comparison between her free and paid events, what her numbers look like, what the keys are to a successful paid event, and a behind the scenes look of the more intricate details that make up hosting an event live. And there's so much more good stuff in here as well. To give you some background information on our guest, she's an operations consultant and the founder of Systems Saved Me. She helps overworked one-woman shows become streamlined solopreneurs. She is also the expert on VIP days and loves sharing her love of replacing monthly retainers with one-day virtual intensives. And she just happens to be the host of my favorite live virtual event out there. And I am so excited to introduce you to the incredible Jordan Gill. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that the next run of her event, which we'll talk about in this episode, is coming up as of the time that this episode airs. And you can go to summithosthangout.com/Jordan, Jordan, to check it out and grab your ticket. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Welcome, Jordan. I am so excited to nerd out about all of this with you.
Yes, I'm so excited too, because as a listener, I know like all the episodes and I share them a lot actually.
You do.
I just shared one about your JV partnership and I'm just obsessed with your podcast. So I'm really excited to get to be on it.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. And I'm obsessed with everything you do too. So it works. Before we dive into all the goodness, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yes. So I'm Jordan Gill. I am the founder of Systems Saved Me. And I've been in business about 4.5 years. And I, obviously with the name Systems Saved Me, am obsessed with all things systems, automations, integrations. And for the majority of my business, I ran it through a business model of only VIP days. And that was really awesome because I would work 4 to 6 days a month and be making 6 figures a year. And the majority of my months I could do with what I wanted. It was a very simple business and whatnot. And then, you want to start growing stuff and you want to start playing a little more and whatnot. And so people were really intrigued with the business model I started with. And so now I split my time between VIP days I still do them, and a program called Done in a Day. And it is a 6-month group coaching program where you can actually learn how to replace your monthly retainers with virtual VIP days.
And you guys, it's incredible. So I am in that program and I've applied it to both of my businesses, but for my development business, I totally stopped taking custom work. I have one retainer client left just because I love her, and all I do is VIP days, and it's wonderful. So seriously, if any of that intrigued you at all, you need Jordan in your life. But not only is she a VIP day genius, but she hosts one heck of an event. Can you talk us through your experience a little bit with hosting virtual events?
Yeah. What's funny is I recently got, we both know Diane Mayer. I recently did a wealth dynamics reading with her. It's just like an entrepreneurial assessment. And it's always interesting being told, as a CEO, you shouldn't be doing your systems. You shouldn't be doing all that stuff. And as somebody who that is my joy, I always felt like I'm going to have to peel away the part that I love the most. And with her, she was like, no, actually, you should be you are, a different kind of CEO, and that is where you should be. That's your playground of playgrounds. And so she pointed out, and I was like, I didn't realize it, that events are the most systems oriented marketing option out of everything. And I was like, oh, that's why I love them so much. Because 98% of the time it's behind the scenes systems processes moving through. And then it's 2% hello, I'm on stage. And so I'm that is why I love them. And so this one will be coming up on our 3rd virtual conference and whatnot, but I am obsessed with events, summits, live events, conferences, whatever. I did a lot of in-person ones, not hosting, but I went to a lot of them. And so, with COVID, all that stuff shifting, I was like, okay, like let's, try our run at virtual conferences and summits. And I'm totally obsessed. And ours is very specific. It is for people who are interested in creating a virtual VIP day, which I know we both agree that specificity is so key with summits. Like, we cannot continue to do these super general summits anymore. It just, audiences are not listening, they aren't tapping in, and I've seen that in a lot of, my friends and stuff who have that more general copy and focus. It's a struggle. And they're like, well, you got this many tickets and you had this many affiliates and you had all this. And I'm like, that's because it's super specific. Like, we know exactly what's up. And so I really am excited to dive into all of the intentionality and deliberateness that we had around our event for our speakers, for our affiliates, for our audience members, for our team behind the scenes. Like, we'll get into all of it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And if anyone listening has not attended Jordan's Done in a Day interview series, like, keep an eye out for the next one. It is seriously such a one-of-a-kind, incredible event. Jordan goes over the top in good ways and in so many ways. And it's just absolutely incredible. She blows my mind every single time. And I've gotten sneak peeks at the back end from being a speaker. I'm just like, holy smokes, this is like the systems you were talking about. She's got it down. But there are two things you do that are way different from what I do. So first, you host paid events rather than free. And you host live events rather than pre-recorded. And I want to dig into those things, since they're clearly not something I can teach on, other than literally what I've learned from you. Yeah. So what made you decide to run a paid summit instead of a free one?
Yeah, for me, it's really, important that I've just always realized that when people pay, they pay attention. And so I was like, so again, we will have done 3 of these. So our first one was free, and it was during like Black Lives Movement, which already had a lot of other things going on that, affected me even, and just being present. And so I was like, not that I necessarily would have done it paid, I guess, then, but it showed me that when people just sign up for something that's as specific as VIP days, and there's other things going on, they may not tap in. They may not actually pay attention. And I don't do it similar to Krista, where she has like the chats involved and like there's all of that community and stuff. At least I hadn't for that one. And so I think had I done that, it may have, again, there were a few things that we'll talk about in comparison that would have helped boost my end result of getting more people into my program. And so for me, it was, okay, I want people who are ready to dial in. I want people who are serious about adding this opportunity into their offer suite or even just as their business model. And so I thought, creating a paid event would help differentiate us in the marketplace. And not that there really isn't a whole lot of people talking about VIP days. I know quite a few, and they have like their own spin, but none of them are doing like events. But I just wanted to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. So that's why we decided paid. And then live, my team thought I was insane. They were like, why on earth are we doing this live? I was like, it's going to be fun. They're like, literally, there's so many things that could go wrong. And I think the live element was because I'm the kind of person that I like to engage with people when I'm talking and when I'm speaking and stuff. And I thought I really want to create as close to a live event as possible, because people haven't been able to go to live events. I know that I've missed that. And so I was like, how can we make this as close to a live event as possible? Well, we have to like actually be live. So those were kind of our 2 big shifts from the first one we did. And so that definitely resulted in really awesome results in our second one that is making us now, do another one in March.
Heck yes. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. Like, if you don't mind sharing your numbers for those 2 summits, comparing what the free one looked like versus the paid one, and just kind of give people an idea of what that looked like.
Totally. So our free one had 1,100. So right off the bat, our free one had 1,100 tickets, which was good. And then our paid one had 580. So initially you're like, this sounds like a trap, Jordan. Like, why are you excited about having literally half the leads? And I knew going into it that we were going to have less than we had previously. I was concerned with then the trickle down of conversion rates. I was just like, I don't really know how we're going to go into this. So again, 1,100 from free and then 580 paid. And then what was interesting was from the all access pass purchases, so fascinating. So our free one, we had 7% people upgrade into whatever the $97 all access pass. We kept it $97 across both. The second one out of 4 people bought the all access pass.
Holy.
So we had a 25% conversion rate of all access pass purchases. And I was like, I feel
broken.
Hello? Like, wait a second. Like, I'm confused. And what's bananas even more about it was the first one had like the thank you page with like, you know, a whole other sales page for the all access pass. And the paid one was like a toggle. Like it wasn't even, we did not create a whole nother page. So it's literally like pay for the ticket, you know, move the toggle to the right if you want the all access pass. And so we eliminated a bunch of work on the sales page aspect to where it was just like toggle it on if you want to add it on. And 25% of people took it. And I was like,
that's the highest conversion rate I've ever heard for an all access pass. That's really cool.
Right? I was like, what is happening? And so with that, like the numbers breakdown is the tickets for the paid summit were $19. So our total revenue from just $19 tickets was $11,020. And then our all access pass purchases were $12,319. So total before the event even started, before I even, you know, started speaking, we had made $23,339 like off the bat. So automatically I'm feeling great.
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty cool because that wasn't even your primary goal of the event, right?
Totally. Like all access pass purchases, I was like, you know, it's cool if people buy them, if not, whatever. But like we're more focused on people joining our program. But like, to have, you know, a significant amount of ticket sales and upsells, it just helps then cover the costs, obviously, of putting on the event and et cetera. So, so numbers wise, that was that. So one thing that differed between the free and the paid was our free, we did not have applications into our group coaching program, and our paid one we did. And the reason for that is one, we like to qualify who's in our program. I'm a little bit of I just don't like bad energy and bad juju. And I want to be able to walk in a room and be excited to see everybody. And so I don't really know why I dropped the application. I just was nervous about it for no reason. So we didn't have a number to track for the free of applications because we just didn't have that in place. But for our paid one, we had 170 applications come in and 129 of those were qualified. And then from there, we had 32 total clients join, 9 of those paid in full, 23 paid monthly. And so what that looked like was total pay in full revenue was $36,000 because it was a $4,000 pay in full. And our total monthly is $750 per payment. And so what came in like cash in hand was $17,250 with then expected monthly revenue of an additional $86,250 across the next 5 months. So total revenue collected from the event, so cash in hand in the bank, was $76,589, and total overall revenue was $162,839. And so that is all in the paid.
From 580 people.
From 580 people, yes.
Absolutely nuts. This is so cool. And obviously why I needed you to come on here and talk about paid events. Holy smoke. So moving forward, we're going to stick with the paid route. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. We're going to stick with the paid. Yeah. Cause our free one, I think we had 6 people join.
Wow.
And yeah, we had only 6 people join from our free.
Wow. That is really cool to see what a summit can do for a higher ticket program. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being willing to share all that. And something I want to talk about, like I'm sure there are so many people listening right now going, oh my gosh, my next event or my first event is going to be paid. That's the way to go. Yeah. But I have seen so many paid events totally 100% flop. And I encourage almost all of my students to go the free route at least that first time, because most of them, it's like a list building thing. We need to build their list rather than just like cross their fingers that they'll get a couple sales. So what do you think are some of the most important parts of making a paid summit successful?
Yeah, for me, it was a few key things. And there's like so many layers to, to how we ran this behind the scenes, but I'll try to keep it short. So I think what made our paid event run as well as it did or like be successful was sticking with our values. And so what that means is if we can't do it well, we're not going to do it. So, there was a lot of our Facebook ads totally tanked, PS, like totally tanked. We had, I think, only 20 tickets come in through our paid advertising. Like, I want to say 40% came from affiliates and then 60% came from our audience. And so where we did well was we do like affiliates and JV partnerships, that sort of stuff really well. And so we leaned on our affiliates and even our speakers to some extent. Our speakers were optional promoters. And that's, again, just something that I'm like, if you want to, cool, but also like we do have like our own elements at play for promotion with affiliates. We had 64 affiliates sign up to be affiliates and about 32 were active, meaning that they had at least one like click on their link. And so we stuck with affiliates. Now, asterisk. Do not do affiliates for your first summit launch in the sense that there are additional tech and systems and things that you need to be very aware of and whatnot. So I'm saying that it worked well for me because I've been doing affiliate stuff for years and I perfected my process around it. So that worked really well for me. But again, I would say if it's like your first 1, 2, like don't even worry about affiliates, like focus on speakers and having them promote your event. I think another thing that worked was it was almost like an ecosystem. So, and what I mean by that is our affiliates could potentially also be joining our program. And we were very intentional about that. And we ended up having, I think, 3 affiliates join and 2 speakers. And again, our speakers could potentially be joining our program. So people don't really think that like meta, like it's like Inception a little bit, but I was like, why? So we gave our speakers a free ticket to come to the full event. We gave our affiliates a free ticket to come to the full event because it could benefit us to have them come to the event, not only just as an affiliate and enjoying ourselves, but also, so that 580 is just paid tickets, but we did have affiliates on top of that, and obviously speakers who came to the event, outside of that as well. And so that's like an additional 100-ish people who came via the free ticket. And we tracked a little bit of like, I think half of our speakers and affiliates came to at least one session. We made that not like a goal, but just something we were mindful of when choosing our speakers and choosing our, because we have like an intermediate to advanced program. It's not necessarily for new folks. So we can kind of get away with that a little bit easier unless you have a different topic of choice. So that also helped in that sense. And I think also it came down to like our main goal, like the morning of the event, I was like, listen, at this point, we've done everything. Your whole goal is to love on people. So I don't care what that means in the moment. So Trina, when you're in the inbox and managing, the text messages coming in, like I'm giving you full permission to just love on people. And if they need something, give it to them. I don't care what it is. You don't need my permission. I'm focused and I need to be in the zone. Same thing with, Alice, who was manning the chat. We had some paid event volunteers that we brought in who just, again, like, just love on people, just like hype them up in the chat, like make sure they have what they need. And we had like 3 event run-throughs. So I think, again, not to say that there were all these things that were part of it, but our main mission was just love on people. And if you give your team, that's why I'm obsessed with my team, multiple reasons, but I'm just like, love on people. Like, I don't care what that looks like. I think that really made a difference because, again, with speakers and stuff, love on our speakers. If they need something, give it to them. I don't care what it is. So it gives your team permission to show up in the way that you are going to be showing up. And I think that all around created such a community that, I mean, I printed out the chat. It's 120 pages from our event. Like I printed it out. I'm trying to think where it is. I think it's in the drawer over there. But I read it because one, I wasn't able to keep up with the chat and everyone's like, can I have the transcript? Like, and part of the reason why people joined our program was because the chat was so fire. They were like, I don't want to leave this bubble. Like, I love everybody who's here. And I've connected with so many people that are here. And I really like Jordan in some aspects. So if I want to stay in this bubble of Jordan and all these dope people, I want to join the program because I know that if I'm paying $19 and this is how much loving I get, like I'm going to pay this much and go and experience it on an even deeper level. Right. So I think, again, there's a couple different things that we had at play, but overall, the main thing is just love on people.
And I love that's the direction you went at too. And I feel like that has a big part to play in successful free events too. If you go in just thinking about yourself, like that's tough once you actually get there.
So tough.
But when your first goal is making other people happy, whether it's speakers, affiliates, attendees, it all just kind of naturally comes together to just create this powerful event. And something else I heard you say that I think I want people to think about before they jump right into a paid event is you said you had over 60 affiliates. You have this incredible team. So it's not like you're just showing up out of nowhere and expecting people to give you money for this like really vague event. It was as specific as it can get. People know you, you have a community, people trust you, you have all kinds of people willing to spread the word about it. And I feel like that like has a big part to play as well. So I hope everyone was taking notes on that though, because that was good. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing all of that about the paid aspect. I want to move into the live aspect a little bit. Like I said, I've seen a little bit about how you do this from being a speaker, and it's incredible. Can you talk us through some of the things you do to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible during the event? Like people are where they're supposed to be, make sure tech cooperates, things like that.
Oh yeah. We had quite the contingency document.
I love that.
And it was down to not only like if the internet is out, it's like if Jordan's internet out, this is what happens. If Alice, our producer's internet is out, this is what happens. If this person's internet is out, this is who's covering for this person. Like, because everybody had their role. So there was a lot of just like, if this, then that allowed for us to not have to panic, or like if a speaker like doesn't show up in the green room that we created, like, what is happening there? Like, how are we going to contact them? How are we going to move forward? And the biggest thing too was I was not in the day of Slack channel. I was not in there. I had no clue what was happening. And as a control freak, and as Krista, a fellow control freak, like I was intentional about that. I said, I don't want to be in there and I shouldn't be in there. Like I have to contain my energy, and y'all are more than capable of handling whatever is coming your way. Again, we have our contingency plans. We know what's up. An additional thing to that was with speakers, I wanted to create a really inclusive and accessible event. And I hired an accessibility expert that we both know, Erin from Mabel EQ. And I was like, okay, how do I create like the best experience? Because I do know that I have people who are deaf, hard of hearing, visually impaired, chronic diseases and stuff like that, that people are fatigued. And so I was like, how can we create a really awesome experience for people who have different disabilities? And so we went through every path that we could have. And I think definitely one of the best decisions that we made overall in the event, and that we will continue to do moving forward, is having a live captioner. It was expensive. So I was like, okay, like, I know this is the right decision. And like, okay, like that was, I think it was close to $2,000 to have somebody live captioning all of the conversations. And they did so well. And I know other people who've done this for their live events, and they kind of did like the Rev AI one, and like it spelled people's names wrong. Yeah. Like it was super delayed. Like it just was not a good experience. I'm so glad we had a human captioning, because she kept up. Like we had 3 different captioners, because they do it by hours, which is like, oh gosh, like we're having new people come in every time. Yeah. And our captioner day 2 was late. And so then it was like, again, team handling it. We will get that together. And we kept the show moving. But that was really important to me as well, especially with also visually impaired people. We required our speakers to use a specific template so that it was not hard for our visually impaired folks to read and look at. And we also then gave the slides to people beforehand so they could run it through apparently there's like a, I don't know, software or something that they can run the slides through so that it automatically like can read them back to them or show up in a more clear way for them to be able to read. So those are some things that, for the live element that we included to ensure, again, that people were taken care of and people were loved on and they didn't feel different. They didn't feel like shoved to the side or thought about last. Like, no, we thought about you first. Like, these are things that we have in place and that we've thought about and we've paid for that are for you. And so that also makes a difference. And people notice that because they're like, I've never been to an event that said live captioning before. Like, what's going on? And so that shows how deep we care. And, we made it so that the live captioner, we were able to get the captions afterwards. And so instead of us having to pay then for somebody to transcribe all the sessions, it actually had a dual purpose. And so that's like, okay, that was actually beneficial. And that was something that Erin told me to do. So we will definitely do that again. And then for the speaker aspect, we did have a speaker green room that Krista obviously had experienced with one of our paid event volunteers, Danielle. And it allowed for us to, have speakers come meet each other, hang out, for 15 minutes before they came to like the main stage. And it just allowed for that same, because I've been at events before where you have kind of a host person that like walks you to the stage and makes sure you have water and like all of that sort of stuff and sound checks. And so we wanted to keep that very much similar to a live event as well. So it felt like Danielle's your host and she's going to walk you to the stage, even though it's virtual. And that worked really well too. And so we also did, I guess, speaker tech checks beforehand because I was like, I don't want the headphones rustling. Again, for our deaf and hard of hearing folks, that's like the worst experience possible. And so I was so like hardcore about that. And my team, and then, in turn was hardcore about that. And so we made sure and did those tech checks before the event, like 2-3 weeks before, and then also in the green room again, because I did not want to handle that on live and then have to that's just really annoying to have to do. So those were some things that we did for our speakers, for, our attendees and all of that, to where we wanted everybody to feel, again, just super loved on and thought of as much as possible.
Holy smokes. Once again, everybody, this is why I brought Jordan on to talk about this. Like, you thought of every little thing, and then naturally, because you're you, made a system around it, and it's just magic, and I love it so much. And like what you were talking about before, where like your goal was to love on your people, in everything you were just saying, that was showing up again and again and again. And I just feel like that has such a powerful part to play in the results you guys ended up getting to. And it's so cool to see that pay off. None of it was a waste. It all came back eventually to you as well. And that's just so cool. So you guys, if you're thinking of trying the live route, listen to what she just said like 5 more times and, make sure that that's something you think you're ready to handle, but also use it to start putting those systems in place. I was chatting with a friend last week who, I think was she part of an event or maybe just an attendee? I think an attendee. And it was this person's first live event. And, she was sitting there at the link where they were supposed to go live for 30 minutes and the link like just straight up didn't work and she wasn't getting emails about it. And she was like boxing me because she was so upset. And she's like, this is why like only Jordan should do live events. Everyone else needs to stop. But like, if you're that systems oriented person, it's something you can do, but holy smokes, is that an undertaking? Although now you have all those systems in place. So it's not going to be easy next time, but significantly easier.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And even again, like, if you have Krista's program, Summit in a Box, like the emails alone inside of Summit in a Box, like y'all, to have the amount of emails for summits paid or live is atrocious and it can be painful. And so with having somebody to walk you through all of that, whether you do go live or pre-recorded, like do Chris's program, because it is going to save you so much time and so much energy. Like it doesn't even make sense to do this by yourself. Like it truly, truly doesn't. And even if you can't pay for like, again, I have 6 people on my team plus 2 paid event volunteers and like all the people. If you're doing it by yourself, then at least have a proven process. If you're by yourself and finagling and Googling stuff, like that time is not going to be spent on, and time and energy spent on loving on people. You're going to have time spent on, oh shoot, I didn't think through what's going to happen if this, doesn't work, or this link doesn't work, or whatever the case was. You're not even going to have time to think of those things because you're too busy trying to build your own process when one has already been created for you, and it's super simple and straightforward. So like, again, live or pre-recorded, you can figure out the live stuff once you've gotten a pre-recorded one under your belt 1, 2, 3 times, like, because at least you understand the flow of a lot of the elements. It's just a matter of, okay, we're coordinating schedules versus, recording the content beforehand. So it truly is. Krista didn't pay me to say this or like tell me to say this. This is just me saying this. But like, I'm a really big proponent, and because summits are so systems heavy, and while a lot of people are not systems oriented people naturally, it just makes sense for you to just cut the crap, like curb all of the nonsense and get an actual proven process in place for it. It makes sense.
Yeah, well, I agree. And also, thank you so much. You're the best.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh, my mind is like spinning. And like part of me now wants to go host a live event also. So
to try it.
I might leave it to you, but it's so cool. Thank you so much. What do you feel like is the biggest takeaway you want people to get from what we talked about?
Honestly, summits, events, live, not live, paid, free, honestly, they are the best and quickest way for people to get to know you. I truly believe that. And that's why I went to a lot of live events, like in-person events, because that was the quickest way for people to know who I was. And being able to break the barrier of, okay, this long know, like, and trust factor. People know, like, and trust you so fast when they get to experience you in a summit, event, paid conference, whatever, because, they get to know you in the sense of, the programming that you're creating, the interviews that you're having, and the sessions you're doing. They start to like you because they're like, oh, I like this content. I like the people that she's curated. I like, the live element or the pre-recorded elements with chat. The community. And then trust is like, again, when I email in and have trouble with something, they help me with it. And that gains trust. That is like huge. And so with that, like, I truly believe that, again, even with like 2021 predictions, like I don't see these things going anywhere. People are like, oh, people are so tired of it. No, lies. They're tired of crap. Yeah. But they're not tired of summits and paid events and conferences. Like they just aren't. People want to connect. We're like struggling in these 4 walls with the craziness that is our life. Like, let's like live in a different land for a little while. Right. And so it's even more important to create that experience for your audience and for your people, because it's unlike anything else. Like challenges are nice, all these things are nice, but events and summits are not going anywhere. Get more specific with your topics for sure, but I want to encourage you that this is not something that's going away, or this is something that people are tired of, or anything like that. I don't think that's the case in the least bit. So I want to encourage you that you're in the right place, you're learning from the right person, and that this is a marketing area that you're going to want to pay attention to, and that you're going to want to at least try in 2021, I think.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I wholeheartedly agree. And thank you for I love that you just sneak in the get more specific thing. I know, that's like what I preach, and every time I'm like, yes. Thank you so much. Where can everyone go to learn more about you, what you offer, where to connect, all the good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is fun and bright and shiny and new. It's systemsaveme.com. There's lots of fun shenanigans for you to get into there. I love to DM people and chat on Instagram at @systemsavedme. And then I also have a podcast. Obviously, you're listening to a podcast. So you can listen to us I guess, System Save Me through Apple, Spotify, any of the places. And those are like the three main areas to get in touch or to just like devour our content. And again, if you're just in our sphere, like you will hear about when our conferences are happening. And so whether you get on my list somehow or you're following me on Instagram, like you will see when we have our next event available. But you can also go to doneinaDayVirtualConference.com. I'm sure we'll give a link to Krista in the show notes, and there will be a wait list or there will be an event happening. So that way, again, you can for sure be in the know of when our next event is.
Love it so much. And if you guys were like into the day rate stuff, into her systems brain, definitely check out her podcast. It is one of my favorites. You will not be disappointed.
Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. For show notes and resources mentioned, head to summitHostHangout.com/109. In the next episode, we'll be chatting about if you can host a summit faster than my recommended 90-day timeline. So be sure to tune in for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit.